let me give you an example. I got 4 girls and a boy. Okay, my youngest boy now is 12, so I'm just getting into this with my boy. Okay, we were at the gym the other day. I was giving you an example of how intentional I am. We were at the gym the other day working out, and we were both, we were working there doing stuff together, and a young lady came in and sort of got right in front of, she kind of walked in front of me, and she was pretty, and she, had a tight outfit on, and I knew Marcus. I knew Marcus noticed it because she was pretty, and I noticed it. I got gray hair, but I'm not. And pretty soon, and she kind of bothered me a little bit because it was obvious she was sort of prancing, playing that, that little health club game. And so I said, Marcus, let's go over here. And so I told him, let's go over here and let's go work out over here. And he's like, Dad, why are we moving? And why are we moving? I said, Marcus, because that girl bothers me. We gotta go over here so I'm not tempted to do things and think things that I shouldn't be thinking. And he was like, you think like that, Dad? I said, yeah, I do. And all of a sudden it was like, for him, it was like, wow, Dad. He thinks like, he's 12, he's starting to notice girls and stuff. But that's just an example of what I'm telling you. That's an example of we have to be so real with our kids, kind of what you were talking about earlier, so real with our kids that we struggle in those areas too. Or there's things that, like when the TV comes on, I don't know about you guys, but I like watching football, but the commercials are absolutely unbelievable. So we'll watch the game, and all of a sudden, thank God we have DVRs now where you can pause it. But still, there'll be a time where we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, and the girls will yell, "Turn your head!" And we all turn our head, and I know it sounds really corny, but we're learning, and he's learning how there's certain things we can do, and there's certain things where you have to train your eyes. The Bible is very clear that in Scripture it says, I made a covenant with my eyes that I would look straight ahead, not to the right or to the left. And so there's a purity part of where, especially for young boys, and I know for girls as well, but for boys where we have to make a contract sort of with our eyes. And so I'm trying to teach Marcus now, and I'm in the process of this. And I know you're dealing with Cole and but dealing with the boys, we're really trying to learn that. So it's a process that him and I are working together on. And anyway, I thought I'd share that with you just because that's another thing that we deal with too.
Yeah, and also we put down here something is to know your culture. If you work in youth ministry or with kids, you tend to know the culture more. If you're not in there, we mean that by do you know what is the sexual high school, what the kids are doing? Do you know what they're doing? Are your kids talking to you and telling you what's going on out there? Do you know what friends with benefits are? Do you know what's happening at school? Now, unfortunately, it's heart-wrenching that our kids have to know so many things that we never even thought about, But that's what's out there, and it's good to dialogue with them about what's going on in the culture and to know it. And that's part of being proactive. It's kind of part of protecting them a little bit, because then when something comes up, they're not afraid to come to you and say, oh boy, I heard something today I just never wanted to hear. And it's almost relieving that they can share it, and they could, sometimes we can pray for that situation at school or what's going on and just ask God to take it away from their mind. And I just see almost a relief from the kids. So it's like, we put down know the culture, K-N-O-W, but say no to the culture. And protect the kids by knowing what's going on and feeling like the house is the safe place to talk about gross and ugly things, and not the place where it can't be brought up. This is what I think. What someone brought up, and this is what Jim Burns says. And he says, our kids' emotional level exceeds their maturity level, and that's where we need to come in and try and tap into where that emotional level, try and work on the maturity level and keep the emotional level at bay. Because a lot of these kids aren't bad kids, but they're emotional and they're impulsive, and our kids, they're not looking at it. When we tell them to be pure, they're going out and having oral sex and stuff, and these kids don't think they're not being pure. I've seen kids have friends who have purity rings, who have oral sex and don't think that's not being pure anymore. Mm-hmm. So but when we talk about being pure, mind, heart, and what the Word of God says, and realizing that our kids' maturity level is not ready for any of this stuff, any of it.
And along that way, and you mentioned it earlier, along the way the kids are, the emotions are happening, all those things they're thinking about, they're trying to figure out their bodies, all that. They don't have the maturity level to handle it, and that's where, as parents, that's where we have to come alongside and help them make those decisions. That's why we just stressing, and can't say it enough, that you need to be talking. We have found that we have to talk to our kids, and that starts at early ages, and starts all along the way. And when my girls would get ready to go out or whatever, and they come out of their room dressed a certain way, I was, in a nice way, would say, I'm not sure you need to wear that. Why, Dad? I said, because when you wear that, this is what a boy thinks. What? And they would go, no, they're not thinking that. I said, that's what boys think when they see you like that. Is that what you want? No. I mean, they had no idea that boys are thinking. Now, I'd say boys aren't bad. I'm a boy. I was a boy too. I know it's not that they're evil, it's just how they're made up. And so, I was quick to try to tell my girls what are going on in boys' heads, and now Marcus, what's going on with girls, and so forth. So those kind of conversations, I think, are important.
Huge. And then you teach kids how to dress as well. And you think that's a fight at first. And I've seen my girls now, when they go shopping, they don't even pick out clothes. Those kind of clothes that they don't even think about it. So bathing suits are a hard issue because there's not a whole lot out there. But dress-wise, we need to teach our kids how to dress. And we need to, it's a struggle. It's not easy, but we need to stick to our guns. I want to bring up too, we put this under protect our kids. It kind of comes into loving them, but our kids need to, and it's easy to do when they're little. We hug them, we tickle them. I think Mark used to play Captain Hook with the kids all the time, the girls. When they get to be teenagers and they develop them, all of a sudden it's like between dad and girls, it's like, a wall, it's just different. They don't, it's uncomfortable, it's different. And there's a study that came out of UCLA that said kids need 8 to 10 loving touches a day. And I've always I told him, you gotta go put your arm around that one and tell her, just encourage him, just remind him, that she needs a little more, just sit down with her and tell her you're proud of her. Because if you don't touch her, some other guy will. And I'll say that with your kids. If you don't hug your kids, somebody else will.
They need a hug.
It was about 6 months ago, we had some friends, they wanted to go out to dinner. They were having trouble with their daughter. She was messing around, and we don't have the answers. They were just said, what would you do? I said, well, you know what? I think I'd sit down on the couch and wrap my arms around her and just tell her I love her. Just tell her I love her. Yeah, because she's blown it. She's made mistakes. She's done things that she didn't want to do. I just wrap my arms around her and tell her I love her. She goes, really? That would be it? I go, well, you're just asking me. I don't have, a lot of... Anyway, she went home. She called me the next day. She goes, I did that when we got home, and she cried for 45 minutes. Aww. Just because she wasn't hugging, she wasn't touching her. We get a feeling with our kids, they get independent, that they... And almost... I grabbed my 19-year-old today. I mean, sometimes there's this tough exterior, and I just grabbed her. I said, I love you, Melissa. I love you so much. And all of a sudden, she just kind of melted. I said, don't worry, I won't tell anybody that I'm hugging you. So I'm lying. But you know what? She just melted. So hug your kids. Love them. Tell them you love them. Tell them you're proud of them. Yeah. It sounds simple, but they'll melt in your arms.